everyone, welcome back to the Kat Scrappiness YouTube channel. Today's project I'll be using the Hooray with Shadow die, the embossed edge rectangles die, the cityscape slimline dies, the bottom die on the bottom right there, and then also the wave slimline die, and then lastly the holiday village die. The paper I'll be using is from A Cozy Christmas, and it is that snowflake there on the bottom right. The sequin mix I'll be using is the baby blue solid confetti, the mirrored clear starlight, and then the clear mirrored confetti dots. These are in the the Kat Scrappiness sequin organizers that Kat sells in her shop separately in a kit. So let's get started. So here is the card base, which is A2 size, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I used the embossed edge rectangle dies, and I used the large one to cut a white piece of cardstock, so that is going to be the starter of my frame. And then the next size die down, I use that to create the frame, and that's what it looks like. And then I use that smaller piece to create the inside of the frame, and then also I get the Cozy Christmas designer paper, and I go ahead and use that smaller die to cut it out, and that is going to sit inside the frame as my background. And then also I cut a piece of acetate sheet using the larger die, so that will be the final step to create that shaker window there. So it makes it easier to layer the pieces because it's cut exactly to size. So again, that is the embossed edge rectangle dies. And now here are the slimline dies that I cut out of white cardstock. That is the cityscape slimline die, the holiday village die, and then the waves slimline dies. So I go ahead and cut those out of white cardstock, and I'm going to be layering them inside that shaker window. And then I use the same die, which is the smaller die, to create that inner frame there. I use that to cut the pieces out so it fits exactly in that window, and it will help me center everything when I place the frame out. So I'm going to run those through individually through my cutting machine, and then I can put the pieces, set up that scene when I have all the pieces together. So that is the Hooray with shadow die. I'm only using the words, and I cut it out of silver foil cardstock. So here are the pieces already cut out, and I'm going to start with the card base. And I use the frame to line up that center piece, that designer paper. So I go ahead and apply some tape adhesive to the designer paper, and again I'm using that frame as a guide since that fits perfectly in the center. And then I go ahead and adhere that. Then I start setting up the scene by layering those slimline die cuts to the snowflake designer paper. So here I'm just putting down the village and that waves slimline die first with no adhesive, so that I can use it as a guide to see where I want to put that cityscape. So I go ahead and press that down so that it is flush with the designer paper. A little bit was sticking out, so I went ahead and added some liquid glue. So then after that, since I've already used that frame as a ruler or a guide for that designer paper, I go ahead and seal it off with the acetate sheet. So I ran out of adhesive here. I go ahead, like any crafter, we always have a backup adhesive, so I just take another tape gun there. So I continue to add tape to the outer part of the frame there, and then I go ahead and apply the acetate sheet to that frame. And again, since I use the same die to cut the frame and to cut the acetate sheet, it fits perfectly when I layer it, and there shouldn't be any need to trim off any excess if I line this up right. So with the frame sealed and closed off, I go ahead and start finishing up the scene inside the shaker window. So here is some dimensional foam adhesive, and it's about a 1/4 inch width wide and 1/8 of an inch thick. So I go ahead and adhere that to the back of that village die there, and then also behind the houses and the trees. The reasoning behind that is because I'm gonna have this popped up in the window, in the shaker window, and also that foam tape makes it a little bit more stable and more sturdy. So here is that bottom piece, the Wave Slimline die cut, and I go ahead and put foam adhesive on the bottom and some regular adhesive tape to the top of that because it will be layered with the village die. So here I line up that designer paper and the bottom of that die cut, and then I go ahead and adhere the centerpiece, which is the Holiday Village die, and then I take off the adhesive backing, and then I go ahead and insert that in the center. So this gives the shaker window a little bit more dimension, and the shaker sequin bits will mainly be focused on the top. So I go ahead and finish off that frame with putting some foam adhesive on the back. So now that I'm all done with the inside, I'm ready to finish off the card. Here are the sequin bits, the clear mirrored confetti dust, the baby blue solid confetti, and the clear mirrored starlight sequin mix. So I go ahead and put those all together in the Kat Scrappiness embellishment tray just to see how they all look together, and then I go ahead and place that on the top in the shaker scene there, just making sure that there's no loose sequins on the outside of the frame because that is where the adhesive will be sticking to the card base. So I go ahead and peel off the adhesive backing on that shaker frame, and then I line up that designer paper with the frame perfectly, and then I go ahead and seal that off. So here is the Hooray word die cut, and I ran it through my Xyron sticker maker. It was a little bit messy because it had some leftover adhesive attached to the letters, so I go ahead and stick that down. The die it comes cuts out your paper in 2 pieces, so just be aware of that. You could either use the press and seal, glad press and seal to help lay those letters down, or use the negative part of the die cut to use as a guide when you put down this sentiment. So here is my finished card. Nice, clean, and simple. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It's great New Year's card for, a winter scene, and it says hooray. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.